Don Van Natta reported that LeBron was urged before it to thank the fans of Cleveland, and that LeBron did not prepare for this. He did know. Usually LeBron is like a PR whiz. Like, he's all over it. He's thought of every nook and cranny of it. Could go here, so I got to go there. This, that. Be ready for it, and have a speech ready.
Right.
That you can do off the cuff, like he did on Kobe night, that Friday night when we were at the Super Bowl.
Right.
He was brilliant, but he'd obviously thought it through. He had a plan in his head, and then he just let his heart take over.
Correct.
Could have done the same thing here. So did he thank the fans of Cleveland? He did not. So after 7 years, he owed them, and I'll just, off the top of my head, I was blessed to be able to start my career and play 7 years in my home area in Akron/Cleveland. And I love the fans of Cleveland and that, whatever they call Northeast Ohio. I love them, and they will always hold a huge place in my heart.
Right.
But I now have an opportunity to play alongside one of my best friends in the world, if not my best friend, in Dwayne Wade.
Correct.
And it's an opportunity I'm going to take, because it's not going to come along again anytime soon. And obviously he would know Dwayne was a little ahead of him in years. So I need to maximize my chances to play with Dwayne. If LeBron had sold it that way, which I think was from his heart, then I think it would have been so much more palatable for the fans in Cleveland. Instead, he showed no gratitude for them having his back all those years. They had not won a championship. He was regarded as the best player in basketball, but they got to one finals and they got swept by the Spurs.
Right.
So he needed to be much more gracious to the fans, just to Cleveland.
Right.
And make it hard. Make it, if you want to cry, you could cry. Like this has torn me apart.
Right.
But we got none of that. And I thought his rapport with Jim Gray was pathetic. It was like they didn't know each other, and LeBron was a little leery of Jim.
Well, Skip, they didn't know each other, Skip, but you got to understand.
But they chose him.
Yeah.
Maverick Carter and company, that they all said, we want Jim Gray.
Skip, and I think
remember, ESPN wanted Stu Scott,
right.
or, you know, there are other possibilities, but probably Stuart Scott.
Right. But Skip, I think LeBron is that knowing that he's going to make, because he said the night before because they're leading up to that, Skip, he's like, this team, okay, that team, no, this team. And then he's like, it's going to be Miami. And then he's like, the night before, knowing, I don't think he thought he would get the vitriol and the blowback that he got from Cleveland. I don't think he thought that part through. Skip, so you leading up to it, you tease. And Skip, you forgot, because you remember in 1963 on the March on Washington, it was Mahalia Jackson. Martin, tell him about the dream. He didn't have that written in the speech. He had forgotten about Martin, tell him about the dream.
That's true.
So,
okay, all right.
Skip, you up there, Skip, you forget.
Forgot. Okay. So he forgot, but he was tense. And he's never tense.
No.
In any public setting, he's the opposite of tense.
Yes.
He is totally
He's
poised
very relaxed
and
now
in control.
in every situation.
Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Go look at the tape of it. His face is tight, and he's nervous, and he's not sure. And he'd obviously planned only one line: I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
Right.
And Commissioner Stern just ripped it to shreds. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach? It sounded so arrogant that it wasn't what David Stern stood for.
Right.
It didn't. That's not the image he wanted his superstars to project.
Correct.
He wanted them to show a little bit more humility. But as the special last night on ESPN pointed out, it was Kobe Bryant who originally used that same line when he left Lower Merion High School and had to announce at a press conference, am I going to Duke or am I going? And he said, I'm going to take my talents to
the NBA.
Long pause. The NBA.
Yep.
Okay, so it wasn't even an original line.
Right.
And LeBron, being the student of history that he is, and Kobe was his, remember, that was in the days of, it's LeBron, Kobe, LeBron. His arch rival, so to speak, was Kobe Bryant.
Right.
So he borrowed the phraseology Kobe had used coming out of high school and turned it into, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
Right.
And then the firestorm hit, and it showed all the negativity that made LeBron look bad. Well, it wouldn't have if he had handled it from the heart.
Right.
If he had made Cleveland fans feel a whole lot better about, I gave you 7 years, and who knows, maybe one day we'll reunite again.
Right.
If he could have presented it that way, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He was cold-blooded.
Skip, this was the biggest decision LeBron has ever had to make. Because all these other decisions, Skip, he got drafted to the Cavs. That wasn't a decision he had to make. You got to go. Okay, with Nike. Okay, you got Adidas and you got Nike. And that was off, hey, you just make a decision. But Skip, this is live. You're doing this live. There are no redos. It's not no cut. Okay, we go back and do that over, or we edit. There's no CG in this one, Skip. This is live right now. And so you're talking about a 25-year-old man. And I get it, he's 25. But unless you do this, unless you've done this. And so what happened is LeBron is the trailblazer, because anytime LeBron does something and it goes bad, it tells everybody else, don't do that. When LeBron does something good, everybody says, let's do that. So now what do you see, Skip? Everybody else, what are they getting? Production companies. Look at Russ. Look at KD. Look at Dame. Look at Steph Curry. See, this is what happens. LeBron did that. They're like, oh, no, I ain't doing that. KD ain't doing that. When he left OKC, Skip, he ain't do that, did he?
No. Okay. So I'm assuming the blood had already gone real bad between LeBron and his owner, Dan Gilbert.
Yeah.
And he rejoined him later, which was like a 1,000,000,000 shot, which I still can't quite comprehend.
I still can't either.
After all that transpired. So Dan Gilbert was already angry because LeBron didn't pick up the phone, at least before the decision, maybe even
But
moments
Rich Paul
before.
said he called.
He called.
Yes, Rich Paul said I called. But I guess he wanted to hear from LeBron.
He wanted to hear it straight from LeBron. And he wanted some kind of thank you for all that you did for me, some kind of grace from him, like graciousness, where you say, gee, this was the toughest decision I ever made, and I thank you for all you've done, but I'm going to go play with Dwayne for a couple of years, 3-4 years here, and just see what happens.
Right.
And yet, Dan Gilbert was so irate that night he did two things. He posted a public, just sort of an open letter, but he also did, more to the point, an interview that night with the Associated Press in which he said he accused LeBron of quitting. He said he quit against Boston in that final series in Cleveland, first go-around. Not just in Game 5, said Dan Gilbert, but in Games 2, 4, and 6, watch the tape. The Boston series was unlike anything in the history of sports for a superstar. Well, this is just a salvo. Now, if you want to do plantation mentality, you, be my guest. I don't know. I think it's
How dare you leave me?
Okay, it's just straight bitterness. And then he even accused him of quitting the previous year in the Orlando series, in which they also lost Games 4, 5, and 6. After they were neck and neck with Orlando, obviously. And he said, go back and look at that tape. So he said, in the end, LeBron has gotten a free pass. People have covered up for him for too long. Tonight, we saw who he really is. Okay? Well, LeBron invited that in a way because he didn't utter any thankfulness to Cleveland at all. He gave them not 1 ounce.
I think
of
the thing is,
respect.
Skip, I think the thing is also you have to look at, Skip, like when you read something that's scripted, people don't think it's from the heart. Remember Mike Gundy? He's reading off the prompter, and they said, Mike, you full of bullshit. LeBron spoke from the heart. They said, well, you didn't practice, you didn't rehearse. So you got LeBron at his most unprepared.
Yeah,
and when you do something like this, Skip, even though you don't have to read it scripted, you better be prepared. Okay, if he asked me this, where could it possibly go? You play all these scenarios. You get Rich, you get Mav, you get Randy in a room. Okay, guys, you're going to be different reporters. And you just, whatever you're thinking, just ask. To prepare yourself for this moment, Skip. And I don't think he went through that. I don't think he thought, he didn't think that, I'm going to make this decision on live television, and that will be the end of it.
Okay.
That was only the beginning.
And Jim Gray seemed to have no pre-plan with LeBron because he wanted to drag out the actual answer. So he asked him about 5 questions that nobody cared about. Like, what's it been like over the last couple of months? And LeBron was very awkward in his answers because he seemed surprised by the question.
What it's been like? It's tough. I mean, Skip, and I think one of the reasons why they went away from Stuart Scott, they knew the relationship that Stu Scott had with Jordan. Both
Could be
Tar Heel,
Carolina.
Yeah. And Stu had been able to sit down and do interviews with Jordan, especially after those finals. And so they kind of wanted to stay away from that.
There's also Bob Lee, obviously. It was one of those two. So whichever.
Bob Lee, Bob Costas, one of those guys. I mean, you can't go out. I don't know if they let Costas do it on their network, but I'm just saying they'd had to, work that out with NBC. But I like Bob Lee. I think he'd have been
Remember,
great.
Tom Brady and Jim Gray have great rapport. And Brady just trusts him. Anything that he's going to ask, Brady rolls with it and laughs it off.
Well, he doesn't ask him. He doesn't, hey, Brady, I'm going to ask you this. Okay, so go ahead and prepare. He doesn't send him a list. Okay.
It's possible.
Kind of like they did on Hillary. Here's the question that we're going to ask you for the debate.
Okay.
You didn't get this from me.
Well, clearly Jim Gray and LeBron had no communication whatsoever.
The first time they might have saw each other at the interview. He's sitting across from LeBron.
It felt like that.
It really did, Skip.
Right.
And I'm watching the last night. I'm like, I don't even know LeBron. Because now when you see him in the interview, he's so relaxed. He's chill. Then he was sitting straight up.
Yeah. He's in control now. He wasn't in control of that one. And it turned him in. Then he decided, I have to be a villain now.
Be something
and
he's
so
not.
then in that first pep rally that the Heat threw, remember, in their arena?
Yeah.
And it was not 2, not 3, not 4. He went all the way up to 7. We're going to win 7 Not even so. We're going to go beyond 7 championships, which was uncharacteristic of LeBron. I think he regretted that. And so it just spun out of control for a year.
Well, you know what? If the only thing we're going to criticize him about is the decision, if that's the only thing that we can find fault with, LeBron, you been great.
Well, just stay tuned because we got a whole nother topic, and I'll go even deeper into it.